All right. Welcome, gentlemen. This is going to be an interesting meeting tonight since there's no presentation scheduled. So we'll just toss it up. I think the first thing I thought of saying is when I realized the background that I have is that's from the Horse Soldiers, the movie. And years ago, not year, well, maybe it was years ago, DC, one of the presentations I wanted to do was
Yes.
benchmark the movie against the actual raid and figure out a way to juxtapose photographs, maybe a video clip and whatnot. So it's still in its infancy, but that's one of the things I intend to present to show the differences between the movie, which I thought the movie was great. They actually had one person die in that movie, which was sad, but it was a friend of John Ford's, actually. Yeah, he was a stunt man that wanted to do this one stunt where he gets shot in a cavalry charge across this bridge, and he's supposed to fall over the bridge and into the water, but they had somebody else to do that. And this guy begged John, come on, let me do this, So John let him do it because he was a friend of his. They shoot the scene, the guy takes the shot, falls over the bridge and into the water and breaks his neck. And Ford was wacko for the rest of the movie. I mean, he would drink anyway, from what I've heard, but he was like unbearable after that. It was a tough movie to finish off, but yeah, fantastic movie overall. So that's my sharing for the evening.
That's bad as my movies with Alec Baldwin.
Oh, let's not go there. Let's not go there.
I've told you
unless
I got
it's-
more for mine.
Right.
Oh, Lordy.
Man, geez.
I have a question, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
What did the bumpers look like on the end of the tracks, like in yards and something like that? What were they? Were they just plain wood stacked together, or I'm just curious what the bumpers were like.
Well, DC, you built a bunch for me.
I was just, they did, probably there was no standard.
Okay,
I just built what looked like,
it would have been.
so yeah, just stacking up some wood and bracing it a little.
Right.
Okay.
And, I'm sure they had like the wood and the earth piles behind them, and,
Oh yeah. Okay.
but no haze style bumpers or anything modern.
That's interesting that you asked that, Al, because everything I've ever read or seen, there's been nothing mentioned or photographed of that.
That's true. So,
Okay, Mr.
okay.
Poteet, that sounds like a question for you. I mean, what's you got a take on that?
The funny thing is, like you said, there weren't any pictures. There's probably very few instances where it was, because most of your siding legs would come in on both ends of the leg. The siding would come off on one
Right.
end, go the other end, and come back in, because of how they had to use the locomotives at the time. But I would imagine that, yes, just either stacked ties, what they used as a tie, or crossed up at the end of the rails down underneath the rails would have stopped them too. But,
Okay.
Right.
but DC's correct. There was no standard for it whatsoever. Everybody would have done it different.
Right.
Mhm.
And for the most part, they probably would have avoided a stub end, you're saying, because the locomotive would be stuck.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of like in Chattanooga, when the locomotives would have to pull the train into the station, and they'd have to, run through the other end, because I think it was standard that you don't leave the smoke in the house, so they had to go out.
Mhm.
My guess is they uncoupled the train there, and another locomotive came in for the run out, or to reposition the cars, and then the locomotive would back out and do what it needs to do, right?
Correct. Yep. Yeah, Chattanooga and also Atlanta, the car shoot Atlanta would have been the same way. They would have pulled in. They were coming from Chattanooga and came in from the north end through the Y run right up to 0 milepost. They would have cut off the train, tied it down with some handbrakes, and the locomotive would have cut off, went to the first crossing track, and backed its way back over to the roundhouse and turntable.
Ooh, whoa, you just introduced a whole new ops opportunity here. That sounds pretty cool.
You could build that yard area, literally from about the Georgia Railroad turntable out to the ANWP or the Western Atlantic turntable, and that Y area going south and north. You could have 8 guys work for hours moving stuff around and never be wrong.
Huh.
That's true.
Mhm. There's a lot of area in there. And there's a lot to pick up in there too, because there were freight cars on both sides of the tracks. It was a freight depot. In fact, the Georgia Railroad freight depot is still standing there today. It's next to the parking lot at the World of Coca-Cola. And they would have had a lot to pick up there.
You say that, wait a minute, the Georgia depot from the Civil War is still up
Correct.
in Atlanta?
Yes, sir. Mhm. They burned one end of it down during the war. When the war was going on, in fact, we may be able to pull up some pictures. If you see the pictures where the car shed's at, opposite to it in a little bit of an angle, maybe 90 degrees to the angle of it, you'll see a long freight depot, and one end of it's 3 stories high with a roof that's tapered in both directions. Well, they burned that end down. So when they built it back with one long roof going over the whole thing in one floor. That freight depot is still there.
Cool.
Oh, you know what? I thought that was a W&A freight depot, but you're saying it would belong to Georgia Railroad.
Georgia Railroad, Western Railway of Alabama, and ANWP all shared the facilities right there at Atlanta.
Wow, you just changed my setting because I always had that as the W&A. Okay, that's great. There's 2 new ops opportunities you just created for me tonight. I think we can wrap it up, guys. This has been very good.
Wait a minute, I got one more question.
Oh, go
Which
ahead,
one?
Alex. We're on a roll. Go, baby.
Oh, God. Okay, my next question is this. Where do you find what the color of the different cars for the different railroads? Like, I'm basically doing W&A, and I'm also doing East Tennessee and Georgia Railroad. I'm just curious if there was any references to the color of the cars or something like that.
Yeah, W&A was what they called a dark slate blue.
Okay.
And LeBron and I do a lot of those.
Right.
And I do the East Tennessee and Georgia. So here's some crazy rationale for you. So I went to school in East Tennessee,
Okay.
and University of Tennessee was just down the road from where I went to school. And I heard it referred to as Big Orange country. So guess what color I chose for my box cars?
Orange.
Mine are kind of like an orange. It's a caboose, whatever that is, a caboose orange, heavily weathered. And my rationale was, well, it was called Big Orange Country before that because during the war, they painted their cars orange. And it became, so that's my fabrication completely. But so don't go by that, Al, but I don't know anybody else that knows that anyway.
Sounds
Could it
like
be traction orange you're using?
What's that?
Could it be traction orange that you're using?
It's a Floquil, something caboose. I forget. You know what? I'll have to look that up. It's up in a bottle upstairs.
It's bright. It is very bright.
Right. It's
huh.
almost like the color in our guest room.
One thing I found is the specialty paint store, they have Victorian paints. And so you can get these powders
Oh,
and they're
yeah.
actual milk paint from the Victorian era.
Oh, wow.
And so because it's natural, also there will be some variation in it, but I figured that's normal because they literally take the natural stuff and grind it up. And so when they say something like slate gray, you can look in there and you'll find a Victorian paint that says it's a slate gray or blue. And that's what I use for the paints because I figure that's literally the Victorian. They use the same elements to make the color.
What is it called, or what's the brand? Well,
old fashioned let's see, handmade milk paint.
Yeah.
But not, do I got a brand on the back? Gonna have to get better glasses. God, can we see in the,
USDA certified, oh no,
There it is.
dry milk paint powder.
They got a variety of different colors. I used to do making of
Yeah.
paints in the 18th century in Colonial Williamsburg. So this is all kind of stuff.
safety message on the back. Yeah, all it has is the milk paint here. I think
Yeah.
that's the actual brand name.
And add
I
water.
like it. That's good. Oh, cool. Jesus, for an unplanned session, I've already got a bunch of ideas. This is great.
Oh, and
Do more
and
of
one
these.
short note on those stops, GC Laser, that does one of the stops they make is you just have like a wood, 3 sides on the wood frame, and they would just put dirt in it. And
Oh.
I make some of those, and they have actually about like 3 different varieties in a package.
Okay.
GC Laser, you can get a bunch of different kinds of old wooden stops.
Got it.
Say that again. G what?
GC
Was that
Laser,
Walter G what?
GC, just the
Laser.
letters.
Got
See,
Cool.
I can-
Who's doing this?
I,
Oh,
I
okay.
did that just to
Okay.
show you the,
With the milk powders, it's just like water or distilled water or
well, you put water in, it's a powder, so you just put
Right.
water in it.
just water?
Yeah,
So
you do
there's
have
like-
to mix it well.
You know what's nice about that? You can make it as thick or thin as you want.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
Yes, you can.
I just Googled milk paint because I never heard of it before. And there's about
Really?
4 different companies making it.
Yeah,
It
here-
says milk paint is a powder, non-toxic that will give you a matte, velvet, or chalky finish. Sticks to a majority of surfaces without priming. I thought maybe it was made from milk.
No, they do have milk powder in it. Yeah.
Oh, milk powder is in it.
Yes.
Milk is a binder. If you ever leave your dishes in the sink, like your cereal from the morning is going to be all glued down at the end of the day. It is sticky, and that was used as a binder to keep the pigment on whatever they were painting.
What's so funny? That's very cool, Andy. Yeah, thank you. Wow. And DC's got just one of those stinky grins on his face. What was that? Oh, okay. Something
In
going on.
particular, I was just agreeing
What?
with what they were saying. It's-
Okay,
Yeah,
all right. Your mind was
That's
going
right.
some naughty place,
Oh,
I know.
Now, all I gotta do is get the picture back. You guys.
Uh-oh. I had
You
that
lost
problem.
this?
Where the heck did it go?
Do you have there's at least on the top right of my screen, there's a little icon that says view with 9 dots on it. And if you click that, it gives you an option for speaker or gallery.
No, I'll figure it out.
Yeah,
Okay, keep talking. I'll figure it out.
all right, okay.
Andy, are you just having a black screen or what are you seeing?
No, I just got Zoom in the middle of the screen. When right now I have you up in the very corner. Hang on a second. All right, now I got it. I clicked on you and everything else came up. Thank you, DC.
I have a technical.
You know, it makes you wonder, like University of Tennessee being orange on their uniforms. I wonder if they got that type of stuff from carryover from railroads and names of railroads. I mean, the orange had to come from somewhere.
That was, yeah, that's what I was thinking. It, like butternut. Maybe there was something, although when I've looked at uniforms from Tennessee units, I didn't see anything, but that might be something that Siri could help us out with. What's the source of big orange? And I think I'm going to put that on my to-do list too. And if I come up with anything feasible and plausible, Al, I'll let you know.
Okay. I also found when I used to make paints that red lead was interesting because red lead, you figure, was red. Well, when you mixed it up and everything else, it did have an orangish color to it. That's the real stuff. That's the real red lead. So I was just curious because when you said orange, I figured, I wonder, you know, because I know they were painting with linseed oil-based paints back then. So anyway,
Was lead cheap?
huh?
I would think lead would be expensive, just as far as being cheap.
Yeah, it was so used. That was just it. It was very popular.
It wasn't banned until 1976.
You got it. But it did really good stuff aside from killing you.
A lot of us screw up scraping that lead-based
You
paint
got
off
it.
of windows and, oh, yeah.
Can I throw out an observation about colors? Years ago, when I was in college, I had a job, summer job, making paints. on a
There you go.
professional Basis. And the color of paint will vary from batch to batch
Yep.
simply by how finely ground the pigments become.
Right.
And so in the paint company, there was a very high paid person who would take the finished product, mix it with a few other tinting dyes in order to match samples that were stored in the company so that batch to batch would have a very similar color, at least as close as he could get it. But there were significant differences in the appearance of paint, just depending upon the grind of the paint.
Yep.
And typically, the paints were made back in the early days, made from whatever clay you could dig up in the local area. So the clays would be anywhere from brown to red, those are all down in Georgia. And within that, there was a wide variation in color. So when somebody tries to match the color to what was stated back in the 1860s, it's almost anybody's guess
Yep.
what that color would be.
Mhm.
Back when I was in college, I worked for American Can in Jersey City. And I bring this up because the cans were printed with a type of a lacquer. The highest paid guy in the factory, there was 1,000 people there, I was told was the guy who matched the colors for when they printed the sides of the cans. So
They had to have an artistic eye to
Yeah.
be able to match the colors.
and
And the company would have paint smears that they would use for matching, but they would also keep liquid paints on hand because the way the color looks when it's still wet is different from how it looks when it's dry.
no doubt. And one thing comes to mind is the Plantis cans. They did a run of like 100,000 cans overnight, and somebody wasn't watching the way it was coming out, and the cans came out a shade off on that really dark blue. A lot of money went that way that night.
Mhm.
Oh, God.
So nowadays you go to Lowe's and they have a machine that does things
Yeah.
automatically for you. So I guess that guy in the factory is now out of a job.
Possibly.
At the factories in China.
Unfortunately, probably so.
Even today, automotive paint, you would think as long as they've been painting cars and buildings and everything else with the types of paints they use, if you set up a paint booth in a body shop, you get a book with the colors from the manufacturer colors, and there'll be pages and pages of the same color, but from the top of the page to the bottom, it can be just slight variations in the shades of them. And they have holes in the middle of them, and you take that page out off the 3 rings and lay it on the hood somewhere, and the color through the hole that matches the color that you're looking at is the mix you use. And it can be silver, but it might be 8, 10 different shades of silver for that one model year run, the way the hue comes out of it. And the temperature can actually affect that too. If it's colder when they're painting, it might turn out darker. If it's hotter, it might turn out lighter. So you can imagine back in the day when they had no charts or anything, they were just mixing stuff up raw out of oil paints and throwing it on there the best they could.
Protect the wood.
Protect the wood, that's what it's about.
We had a member of the New York Society, whose name was Cal Calton. And this is before you, Andy. Cal was a painter for the Pennsylvania in
Oh,
the
wow.
Meadow shops in Jersey here. And he said that they'd start a locomotive, Brunswick, for Brunswick Green diesels and stuff like that. Brunswick Green, they'd start the engine with a 55-gallon of black paint. They'd run out enough paint, painting the bottom of it, and then they throw in 5 gallons of yellow.
Yep.
And that became Brunswick Green.
I'll be darned. So,
Believe it or not, even in the,
I mean, I've seen arguments on the internet with some of the groups about the color of a certain locomotive or actually the color of Brunswick Green and Tuscan Red. What, people mixing the colors and they say, oh, that's not what it was. Well, no, red's faded very fast. So
What about on cabs and wood? Did they not, lacquer the paint job after that?
probably so.
Or
varnished.
Varnish.
Varnish.
varnish, there you go. And
Yeah.
of course, as that aged or did something, that probably darkened the color per se? Wouldn't it go yellow per se?
Eventually, over time, yes. We
Yeah.
find that with blue. When we used to make Prussian blue, over a period of time, it would just, and mix in with the yellow to get a green. It'd be going back being blue or being yellow or something in between. That only lasted maybe 5 to 6 years, and that was it. And we kept tabs of it at Colonial Williamsburg. So, I
Okay.
mean, it's just what I did. I volunteered up there and they made me the painter.
Oh, wow, cool.
So I got to go and play and do things. So
So if they varnish the cabs, would that be something that would, was a better sealant than wood and would have to be done less? Okay,
most likely underneath it, well, if cabs were wood, right?
Yep.
So
Yep.
if they were, they probably did the paint and then, excuse me, the paint with a linseed in it, a little bit of varnish in that. And then to kind of get a really gloss looking, they'll actually take the color and add a little bit more varnish to it to get kind of like I call it like candy apple red. Ever heard, that? Where they
Yeah.
put like a light coating over the top of it of the same color of the red. It actually makes it pop. And we painted some carriages like that at Colonial Williamsburg. We were experimenting. And it's surprising how it was a glaze. That's what it was. And we would make a glaze and put the glaze over the top of it, and it just would make it pop. It was awesome. Yeah, I
So the
got to go
cabs-
play and do stuff. Mhm.
So the cabs on our models, it's plausible to do like a semi-gloss clear
Yeah.
coat
Yeah.
over them, right?
Right.
Oh, wow.
How long does it take the smoke to get it dirty though?
Not long.
Ah,
Yeah, they used to clean them, not long.
Yeah,
So that
you
was
were
a daily, was that a
You're
daily
talking
job?
about the paint cards. And at one time I was trying to match the blue for the fall sky blue here in Delaware. And I was actually in charge of the paint department at Sears. I went to Sears and Home Depot and Lowe's and I picked up the cards, cut a hole in them. And you hold it up to the light, the sky, and you could,
Oh,
like that, you could zero in on the blue color. However, when I painted the downstairs for the train room, that same exact blue, it was too dark.
Mhm.
Yes,
because
it
of
is
the
dark.
Available light, it just did not capture the same feeling.
right,
Mhm.
right.
Yep, no doubt.
Um,
To
So
me,
you got a scale, just like this, there's a scale gloss as well.
Yeah.
Anything that's really polished it's just not gonna look right.
I had a friend advise me at a hobby shop. He said, whatever a car's painted, do it 20% brighter because you're never going to have sunlight in the train room. And he did, just as a rough idea, he said, make it 20% lighter to imitate being in the sun.
mhm,
Okay.
probably a good rule of thumb.
Wow, that's a nice tip. 20% lighter.
Yeah. I don't know what he based it on or where he got it, but that was his estimate.
Mhm. You was also mentioning that varnish, the other advantage to varnish. It was like the final sealer. Paint back in the day was, the color tones themselves was very dry or flat. And they would still draw up moisture like crazy. So you weren't really protecting wood as well then as, like, if you went to the store today and bought a gallon of paint and painted your windows with it, they're sealed right from the get-go because it's got a rubberized to it. But back then it was probably very much like that milk paint and things of that nature is mixed up very dry. And once you got it finished, you put the varnish on top of it, and it would give it somewhat of a little bit of a shine, but it would seal it from the moisture going right through the paint and into the wood and causing swelling, popping and things of that nature. A lot of cabs on the inside, the strip wood around the ceilings and around the sides of it would be raw wood, and they just put varnish on it, not even paint it. They put varnish on it to protect it. But we did that with 290, and you were asking, was that a daily job? We took 290 out of Atlanta on its first run to Macon, Georgia. When we pulled out of Atlanta, of course, it looked like a brand new penny. It was beautiful. The locomotive set up on the bridge and everybody, it was just gorgeous. And 2 days later, when we got back, the first thing we did is pushed it outside the shop and gave it a bath. It was filthy. And we had ourselves the whole way down and back about how clean we kept the stack. You know, we a nice clean stack. We didn't waste any coal, but that engine didn't say so. It was filthy. And there's everything in the world that gets on it. And there's things come through those cap doors, it'll hit you right in the mouth that you don't see coming, and they are nasty.
Right. David,
Back in civil
who was
ordinance,
primarily responsible for the cleaning of the locomotive? Was that the engineer?
Well, after it had been roundhouse, yes. If it came out and they were doing anything specific to it or extra cleaning, the engineer and fireman, they would work directly on their engines. And typically, I know on the Western Atlantic, usually your engineer and your fireman were pretty much assigned together all the time. So they
Right.
knew what days they were running, what train they were going, what locomotive they'd be on. So even if they weren't running the train out that day, they'd be in the yard somewhere working on the engine. It was very common.
Got it.
That's why they would adorn things. And even later in the 1900s, 1930s, 20s, 30s, and 40s on some of your railroads, your engineers would still be assigned to an engine. And it wasn't uncommon at all for them to put eagles up on the headlights and candlesticks, what they call candlesticks and things of that nature. They would adorn them. I saw one engine that a Southern Railroad engine that an engineer was assigned, and he had all kinds of Shriner and Masonic emblems all over the engine. It was kind of unique looking. I thought it was tacky, but the wrong place for a Masonic emblem to me. But anyway, but yeah, they would work on them all the time.
Can I ask a technical question?
Yeah.
All right. Do you mind if I share the screen?
Oh, no. Great.
All right. Let me. Was that visible, Tom?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So this is just a basic, very basic, essentially what my layout is. And the question I have is the two crossovers about wiring this.
Reversing loops.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, are you running DC or DCC?
DCC. Because that's gonna, I assume it's gonna require the ability to change the polarity as an engine would go. This is the west end of the layout and would go to cross over to the other side or vice versa. That you're gonna have polarity.
There's something that I've used from I think it's DC Specialties or DCC Specialties. That's automatic loop reversal.
Right.
Now, do you what system are you using?
I'm planning on using NCA.
SCE?
NCE.
Yeah, NCE. Sorry about that.
NC. Okay, good. That's what Tom and I use. Yeah, you don't need to get the NCE sells some under their own brand name, but there's also there's cheaper ones that are just as good, and they're the ones I'm using. Because I basically have, you're saying track plan, Ron, except, yeah, mine's loop to loop, so.
Would he need two reverse loop, two reversers, right?
Yeah, you're gonna need two of them. He's got two reverse loops there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's depending on which way whether you're traveling from west or the east. And it was primarily used so that as they brought passenger trains in, that they could pull up and pull in front of the station and then go back out. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yep.
So, as a train was coming from the west, this side, to be able to get, because the station is on the northern side of the track. And then, of course, I've left off all that goes to the southern side, which is where the roundhouse is at. But yeah, I was just curious about, as I started thinking about it, I'm like, I am going to be flipping polarities if I do this. I assume I'm going to need some sort of reversing. All
Oh,
right. Appreciate it. Thank you.
How's
Yeah,
everything else going with the layout, Ron?
A little slower than I would like, but I'm getting back at it. I should have enough of everything done, the blocking for the backdrop all in.
oh,
That I head into at least beginning the two loops on the end
yeah,
and land that track. And then I want to get a programming track on the one far side. So I can get Al's engines up there and get them running and get
right.
them programmed and that sort of stuff. So before I start experimenting with putting my own.
Where do you go to get educated around wiring it? Is it just YouTube?
YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, YouTube.
Mhm.
There's some folks I know here that have layouts, and I probably should pick their brains a little bit more.
Oh, yeah.
oh, yes.
Did you ever hear of Larry Puckett, the DCC guy?
Yeah. Yeah, I watch his channel all the time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he'd
he's
probably
good.
have some. He's very thorough.
Yep. Yeah.
That's good.
So, all right, you confirmed what I thought, so I don't blow myself up, or more importantly, I don't fry one of the engines. I'm less concerned about my own. I'm more concerned about whether I destroy an engine,
I hear you.
fry it hard.
Or a decoder. That's
Exactly.
I've fried a couple of those. Oh God,
Mhm.
that's just like a gut punch.
Yeah.
One thing I liked, if you'd want to do also, is on a programming track, make it look as if they're replacing a turnout or something. So it's a totally separate thing, but just the scenery covers it as if it would be part of it.
Mhm.
With
That's
a
a
crew.
very good idea, Walter. Wow. Very cool idea.
Mhm.
Hmm. Yeah.
Well, I had figured out when I start to do mine, I am moving to Tennessee. I've got my meeting with my builder next Friday, and hopefully we'll be done by maybe September, October next year. But when I get it done and start building the layout, at that point, I'm just sending the air tickets up to Tom and DC and all of them. Say, come on down, it's time to build a layout.
All right.
I
When
know
are
a
we doing
lot
this?
done that way.
When are we doing this, David?
Probably next October, November, somewhere along there. By the time it really starts getting cold up your way,
Oh,
send you air tickets and fly down.
I'm in.
Yep. Have a lot of fun with it. I know what my limits are, and when it's the 1 inch to 1 inch scale stuff, I can do it and mash my fingers and go on. But I tell you, I can make a mess out of electric, no hurry. So
No. Yeah. I know.
the DC, just make sure you let your wife know you might be gone a month at a time.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
They're already used to me going up to Tom's.
All right, no excuses. I got witnesses, no excuses.
Well, okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I get for the most part, that's true. DC is done here, so I can rent them out to anybody that's interested.
Oh.
Ouch, ouch.
That hurts.
Be careful, DC. There was a hint of ownership in Tom's voice there.
Mm.
I didn't intend it to come across like
Well,
that.
we have occasionally referred to him as Massa Tom.
Oh, Lord.
Oh,
Wow, we're gonna get a lot of hate mail after that one.
Yeah.
oh.
I'm glad Tom's in charge of this. Uh,
This might not get posted.
yeah, we'll understand why.
All right, good. Let's, next topic, quickly.
Oh, DC, you made me bite me inside the lip.
Wow. Okay.
That's pretty good.
October, November. Wow.
Got quiet all of a sudden.
Yeah, it did.
All right,
I'll
I
wait
do have
on
something,
Walt.
I have something for you, is I don't know if anybody gets O Scale,
Oh, that's cool.
Oh,
O Scale
wow.
magazine. Notice the photo
Bernie's.
That's
on the cover?
Bernie's.
Yep. Bernie has an 8-page article in here about his railroad.
Nice.
Wow.
Wow.
Wonder if you could pick that up at Barnes and Noble.
Yeah, I know you can get it by mail if you wanted to get a copy of it. It's White River Productions, same group that does Railroad Model Craftsman.
There you go.
Great. Okay.
And
Mhm.
I know Barnes and Noble was carrying a lot of different model.
shows his layout.
Yep.
Wow.
Wow.
Huh,
So
huh.
it's written by Bernie. Very good article.
Yeah, he's excellent there.
Mhm.
Yeah, we had the good fortune to operate there. Was
Yes.
it a year ago? I don't even remember when that was.
It was just this past fall.
Oh, in October, right? At the meet.
Yes.
Yeah, at our meet. Yes, yes.
You
That
were
was
down
fun.
there just, I think, a week before I got down there. This past October.
Could be. Yeah, we were there the first weekend, I think.
Yeah. We have an exchange group in Jersey here. About 15 to 20 guys will go down there every other year, and they come up here every other year.
Oh, to just do ops sessions?
Just do
or-
op sessions.
Nice. I like that.
So,
But now, where do you, what layouts do they come to up here, Andy?
Tom Picarello's layout, what the heck? You know, I can't give it Tony Costa. Tom
Oh,
Picarello,
right,
Tony
right.
Costa. Fellow in Clifton that does a waterfront layout.
Nice.
Geez, I can't think of the names, I'm sorry.
These are all guys that are part of the Guard State Division?
No, this is just
A bunch of
guys.
Oh,
No,
nice.
no formal association.
Oh,
Great.
I had a coupling question
oh,
because I have seen where you can take a pin and use that to hold up the link to make it line up so it hits. But then I've heard also tradition was if you're a real man is you use your fingers to hold it up. And then just as soon as it starts to catch the link, you let go and it comes together. But that's why they would smash their fingers.
Right,
And somebody else like, no, use the pin. So even if you don't quite make it, it's not going to hurt your fingers.
right.
Have you heard any tradition on either one of those being?
Yeah, I actually saw a video one where they put the pin at an angle. So that their hands are not in there. And when it comes in, they just hit it with their club to knock it
Ah.
in place. I actually saw a video of that. Whoa, that was,
Hmm.
yeah, it was shot in 1864, I think. No, I'm kidding. But it was a real video. It was a modern discussion, or I mean, a contemporary discussion around how they would do that. And somebody showed that. But yeah.
can you still get link and pin coupling stuff? I mean, can you still get that
Oh, yeah.
for like HO?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Alexander used to sell them. I forget who bought Alexander.
I use Grant Line.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, it's Sandlon models. They're they got 3 different versions of OM3 couplers that are a little smaller than the old Alexanders.
right.
Um, So some people will say the Alexanders are small enough to be able to work with.
Yeah, whatever suits your, druthers. Right. You need,
Walter looks like he's in deep thought. There's something in there. He's
So
either thinking
Tom,
about, I'm sorry, he was either thinking about something or he's thinking we're a bunch of knuckleheads.
Have you nailed down when the next operating session might be up there at your place?
February 9th.
February
Oh,
9th.
wow.
Yep. I think, based on who's present, I think Bill coming. Ron said he might swing by. And I think David Poteet might be here too.
Boy, that would be nice, but I don't think I'm gonna make that one.
Okay, all right.
I would love to. You just don't have any idea how much I'd love to, but
I know.
at
Well,
that
you
time
guys know,
frame, probably
anytime
gonna
you're
be Kathy up. So
ever in the area, you got an open invitation.
I appreciate that. I really do.
Yeah, February 9th, 1 to 4.
Hmm.
But I think Bill might come in earlier if he's interested in doing a little project. Yeah, so far there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think there's 7 that have said they'd be here.
Wow. How many will your room accommodate with everybody running around?
A 7's about it, yeah, 3 2-man crews and 1 can be running an extra or a special train. I'm gonna do that. I think, Bill, you had the idea, have them like an ammo train running through. And let's see how the crews deal with that. But even after tonight, I've got some ideas that were mentioned. Yeah, so February 9th.
You've got a large enough yard there at the car shed. You could put you a hostler in, somebody running back and forth from the roundhouse to the yard.
Right, yeah, that's what I thought of when you were just talking about that, and where they
That'd be
cut off the cars early on and yeah,
Mhm.
so that could be fun.
Yeah.
I'm hoping to have my 3-way switch in by then.
Mhm. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
A while back, one cool piece of animation I saw, if you want to have somebody at the munitions factory, well, it can be munitions, but somebody put a flat car in the building, and then there'd be an animation that would push a load onto the flat car and go back. So you'd actually load your cars up.
Whew, that sounds like a great idea, but that's way out of my wheelhouse.
Okay.
As soon as it requires wiring, I'm like, That's like a buddy of mine's coming up here. He figured out a way to hook a rig an Arduino to throw the 3-way switch, because it can be programmed exactly where it needs to throw. So I'm waiting on that, which should be next week, I'm hoping.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Yes.
Mhm.
I tell you, it's, so much of the progress has to do more with other people's ideas and contribution of things I wouldn't even have thought of, let alone being able to do. So that's why it was great connecting with the club and then the local NMRA division. I find, and they're local guys. And even though they don't have anything to do with the Civil War, they have the fundamentals around building the different elements that have been game changers for me. Otherwise, I'd have given this thing up 15 years ago,
Mhm. Wow.
if not more. Or I would have stayed with DC and just let trains run around in circles and got drunk all day. That's what whoop-de-doo.
Mhm.
He said, that's not true. They were never drunk before 9 o'clock.
Okay, all right. I'll have to
Tom, you're
break
right
that.
about the NMRA groups. They are really a benefit to everybody.
Yeah.
I know I'm the membership chairman here in North Jersey, so we got 240 guys, and every single one of them, almost every single one of them, is willing to help anybody else out.
And what's your division? And
Garden State Division,
oh, it is the Garden State with, oh, yeah. You
Yeah.
have 240 members?
about 240, 230.
Wow, nice.
So,
Wow.
Is that the Middle East? Eastern
no, we're in the Northeast region,
Okay,
and Tom's in the New Jersey division, which is in the Mideast region.
Right.
oh, that's mine.
What annoys the hell out of me is I go to Brielle. I spend my summers in Brielle. If I'm going down this weekend, I have no idea who's down there because I can't get a membership list from that area, from your area.
Well, you can't get a membership list from the Mideast region?
No, I've asked for one because I was hoping to put it on some of the people that come to our meetings. We have a number of guys come up to our meetings, so I wanted to get everybody on it. But yeah,
So you have a list available of your region?
I got the whole region here.
Wow. Okay, that's another note I gotta make. Jesus, I just jumped on. I became one of the directors on the board, and
Don't tell them where you got the idea because they're mad at me because I kept asking.
oh, I'll just play
Rob.
dumb. I'll play dumb and say, you know what?
What's his name over in lives on the Delaware River? The president,
Gallagher. John?
Gallagher. Yeah. Yeah, it is.
Right.
I had asked him, and then they kind of like, oh, there's there's a privacy thing and this and that, and okay.
I thought this is great because we had this conversation in a board meeting, one of the first I was at. And
That's
they came up with
probably I was probably the one that caused that conversation.
I don't think he mentioned your name, but he did mention it was somebody up in the Garden State Division.
Yes, that was me.
It was you. Oh,
Andy, I
That's too
think you
funny.
should try to get one from the from the Sunrise Trail because they need to get some directories. I've been trying to get one and they don't do that. So maybe if they get it from outside, they will.
Years and years ago, we used to have a once a year you got like a little telephone book of everybody in the country,
Wow.
and they stopped doing that because of privacy concerns.
I'll take that up, Andy, and I'll let you know next time.
And my argument's always been if I'm joining and I have my email address and my address there and my telephone number and I just check off, yeah, you can give this out.
Yeah, what's the big deal?
What's the big
Yeah.
deal?
Yeah, I know.
Anyway,
Wow. Crazy.
yeah, don't tell Gallagher because
Uh,
we're kind of friends on it. I don't want to.
I understand.
I mean,
He's
no,
a
we
good guy.
have we have the combined meets. In fact, the spring meet's going to be a
That's
combined
right.
meet.
That's right.
And
Yeah.
last
went
last
really
year
well.
we were down at the Science Center in Wall.
Right. Our
And
place.
This year, I think they're going to have it at the 4-H building out in
Alatoona.
no, here in Jersey.
Oh,
Out there west of New Brunswick. I can't think of it. Warren County, not Warren County.
in Union?
No. We did Union this past summer.
Okay.
This is a 4-H building. It's a good sized building, has a nice meeting hall. Jesus.
That's all right. I'll look it up.
It's north of Princeton by about 10 miles.
Right.
So
Right. Hey, Phil.
Hey, how are you?
Good. I was just about to wrap it up.
Yeah, sorry, I had another thing scheduled over this. It's hard to, hard to always keep it clear.
I understand. Well, so this has been just a very informal, pickup
Okay.
of topics. So if there's something you want to share or a question, feel
Well,
free.
Well, I could share my progress on my 040. So let me see if that'll load up. takes a second. It's a pretty big file.
The 040, which is this one?
This is the engine that I'm trying to build.
Oh,
So,
right.
yeah, that switcher. Let me.
Have you been in touch with that guy, Nick?
Not recently.
Okay.
Let me pull that.
There's a fellow that I think you might have seen him. He's scratch building a 440 in brass.
Oh yeah.
He's machining everything. I mean, it's just, he said he'll do a presentation probably in the spring or summer when he's much further along, but his work is remarkable.
Yeah, I think when I told him I was relying on 3D printing, he kind of lost interest in me.
Right.
So let me see if I can show how to project.
What,
Right.
while you're looking for that, one of our younger members at NISME, Anthony, I'll tell you, sometimes I think I'm getting a little losing memory. Anyway, his first name is Anthony. Anthony came in 2 weeks ago, and he's an HO gauger. He took an 040 Makua engine and 3D printed the Jersey Central shop engine, the 840.
Wow.
And really looks nice, except he's only got a 3D printer that he got for a present, and it was only about a $300 printer. So there's a lot of the lines in it from the 3D printing.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I mean, he when you look at it, you know exactly what it is.
Wow.
It's,
Wow.
when I saw it, it's not painted. I said, that's the C&J shop engine.
Oh shoot, I can't seem to figure out how to project.
16-year-old, he's 16 years old.
You're trying to share screen.
Yeah.
If you look at the bottom of your screen, there's the green arrow that says
There it
share
is.
screen.
That's funny. All right.
There it is.
Yep. All right. So as you know, I'm a Santa Fe modeler. I'm not modeling the Civil War, but
Right.
you know, it's the pre-1900 era, so
That's
pretty
good.
close.
Yep.
And I like to have my first slide with all the railroad names on it and everything. So I've kind of been through this before, but I'm working on an 040 switcher from the Santa Fe. It's they had two of them. One in Albuquerque, and that's this one, and actually this one as well. And then one out in California, which is this one. And if you've got pretty much any book about the Santa Fe, this picture is in there. And then I got this one, which is more recently published. So I'll just kind of skip a lot of the stuff that I've been over before. Some of this has changed.
And this is all 3D printed you're doing, right?
3D printed and brass etchings
Okay.
with scale link wheels. So I wrapped up the tender and so we did that. And then I redesigned the frame. That's
You're
the
using load
gearbox.
sound? Oh, look at that.
Yeah. So this was the only way to fit it. The Lokesound V5 Nano is the smallest sound decoder that you can get. And so underneath that, there will be some room for weight, and this will kind of be like a wire area. And then that was the smallest 12-volt motor I could find.
Quick question.
Sure.
Would you say that motor, because that's a really good size, would that pull a half a dozen to a dozen cars from a General, do you think?
I don't know. This is my first time building an engine. I would think that weight would be more important. The gear ratio I'm going to have is like 70 to 1. So it's
Oh, you got a gearbox, right?
Yeah.
Right. Yep. That's needed. Yeah.
So, and then I've got it to the point where I don't have like the crossheads done yet or the side rods,
Right.
but pretty much everything else is put together. And then,
Wow.
So on that bottom picture, is that headlamp that way? Because the headlamp's pointed towards what would normally it'd be going that way for like tunnels and things?
well, no, it's just that it's a switcher. So he's going to be backing up and going forward to switch cars. And so they need a headlight on the back too.
Yeah, they're two headlights.
So front and back.
Yeah. Yeah, you can see it in this picture. There's one
Yeah.
on the front, one on the
Okay.
back.
Yep. Very cool.
What
Thank you.
scale are you using on this?
HO.
It's HO.
Really? Wow.
Cool.
Thank you.
Kind of reminds me of the Valkyr without a pilot truck.
It
Oh.
does look a lot like it, doesn't it? And I think people have used the Valkyr to model this engine. I've definitely seen that out there.
Wow.
So-
You may be able to put a cell phone speaker in the top of that smokestack and get the sound to come protruding out. That would probably sound pretty awesome.
It's actually pretty small in there. The smallest speakers I could get were the Soundtrax Minicube 3s, and
Right.
they're rectangular, and I was able to put 4 of them in the tender. So,
Wow.
of course, you're going to go down to 2 and put more weight in, whichever
Yeah.
way it works out. But
I've put a speaker on the underside of the roof
Mm-hmm.
of the
Yeah.
cab. And
I thought of that, but
that works pretty good.
Phil, I think it's fantastic. You're building this
Yeah.
puppy from the ground
Yeah.
up.
yeah,
I
thank
think
you.
it's incredible.
Amazing work.
Where you getting your drivers, Phil?
Scale link, and I already
Yeah.
got them, so I don't have to worry about them closing. But I only got 5 sets, so we'll see.
You only got 5 sets. What do you mean?
Well, I got sets to build 5 engines like this.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yes, yes. Golly.
That's nice. Very nice.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Are you a computer guy by trade?
I'm a mechanical engineer,
Oh,
Oh, wow.
so
damn.
That explains a few things.
Yeah, exactly, right? Jesus. That's
Now,
Wow.
Phil, where do I
Yeah.
order that cab you have on there? I like that smooth.
oh,
your-
I designed it myself. That'll have to be 3D printed. So yeah, there's nothing except for the drivers. There's very little on this engine that is not custom.
So is it feasible that you could offer this through Shapeways?
I don't want to make any promises at this point, So
Well, so from right, I'm looking at it from without any kind of challenge on the actual build on your part. Let's say it's a successful build, wildly
Yeah.
successful. Then you could put that through Shapeways, correct?
I would probably look to do something else than Shapeways. But I would probably, if it's a successful build, I would definitely look to offer some kind of a kit or something.
Gotcha.
So
Cool. Nice work, man.
Thank you.
Jeez.
Really.
Nice.
Have you considered taking some of your 3D printed parts and having them cast? You can have them bring them to
Yeah.
a jeweler and have them cast in brass.
that's
would
not
be
a bad
more-
idea.
More solid. I've done that before, and it
Why,
does
well,
work.
Yeah, that's a good thought. I hadn't thought of that, but something to consider, especially if it's real light and it doesn't pull much.
Exactly.
So-
Right. Right.
I mean, it would also be a way of adding some weight. Like you could
Yeah.
cast the cylinders in brass.
Yep.
Cool. Well, guys, unless anybody has something else, I'm gonna say this was, oh yeah, David?
One last thing. I don't know if you guys heard or not. We lost a real good railroad man about 2 weeks ago. George Walker, that worked for the TVRM, been there for over 30 years. Lost his life there a couple of weeks ago. they don't want us going or anybody saying anything about what happened or how it happened until everything's over with the investigations on it. But one of the nicest people you'd ever meet, always had a smile on his face, always willing to help. So if you're if you're the type of people to do it, each of you have to decide for yourself. You might grab a condolence card or whatever and just mail it to TVRM and let them know that you're thinking about them. They're taking it bad. They're taking it pretty bad.
What's the gentleman's name?
George Walker. It's
Evidently, it wasn't natural causes. That's too bad.
yeah, real sad situation. And it just
Yeah.
luckily it also wasn't something that one of the trains did to him, but it was just, I don't know. When we're not online, I'll tell anybody individually, but
Yeah,
they just,
that's fair.
but it was just a bad situation. Just real
That's
sad. But
fair.
they absolutely lost the charm of a person because his knowledge, his ability, and willingness was amazing. He helped Ken and I back in 91, I think it was 91 or 92, to get lubricators for 290 when we were building it. He'd help you with anything. He just didn't matter what it was. If he could help with the steam engine, he was all in. So,
That's great.
great
Nice
guy.
guy.
But if you think to, if you have time, just grab a card and mail it to them. Let them know that the guys from your club and out all around the country are thinking about them.
Yep, I could do that. Yep, cool,
Good.
good. All right. Well, gentlemen, happy modeling, build something, and I'll see some of you guys in February, and then maybe in a couple of weeks.
So just real quick, anybody here going to Springfield?
I
All
am.
right. I will see you up there. I'm with the O Scale Kings display, right as you come in the Better Living Center.
Cool, good.
Tom and I are
Decent.
going.
Yep, yep.
When y'all go to
Yeah.
things like that, can you make pictures and forward them email wise to like Tom or whatever so we can all see them? Is that possible?
Sure.
That'd be
Oh.
nice. For
Yeah,
those that, there's some of us stuck down here in miserable Florida. We don't get to go to all these shows. So
We'll put an album, we'll put an album up, and then anybody that goes can just, populate it with photos.
perfect. That'd be awesome.
Good suggestion.
Good deal.
I'll see George but Bogatuck there and a couple of others. So, all right, guys.
All right, take
Have a
care.
great
Good night.
night.
All right.
All right, good
Good
night,
night,
guys.
gentlemen.
Thank you.
We enjoyed it.
Cheers.
Thank y'all.